Everyone. So I just spent 10 minutes recording on my iPad and then uh, it stopped mid-sentence. And yeah, anyway, I apparently don't have enough space on my iPad. So we're going to try to redo this and make it a little quicker. So it is Wednesday today, and I wanted to just do a little bit of an update on what has been going on, what is going on, what the plan is, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't remember when my last video was, when my last update was. Um, but basically, Eric was in the hospital for almost 4 weeks. He came home um, almost 2 weeks ago. Friday the Friday the 16th he came home. And that was great. It was great that he got to come home. It was much harder adjusting to him being home than we had thought it would be, than we had hoped it would be. It wasn't as like it wasn't it wasn't all positive. It was really hard, and part of it was that like he was not feeling well. I mean, understandably, he was sleeping all the time. He was still on steroids, so he was eating constantly, and it was just still really hard. It was a really hard adjustment. We went through some really rough days, and but it was better, but just not as better as we had hoped it would be. Anyway, so he came home on, what did I say, the 16th, the 18th, the 16th. And then the following Friday, last Friday, we had to go back in to the clinic as outpatients, as it's not right, outpatient. We had to go back into the clinic outpatient um, for him to have labs done, to see the doctors, and then to have a lumbar puncture with chemo and a bone marrow biopsy to hopefully show that he was in remission. That was a very, very long day, and neither he nor I were in good moods, and we were just snapping at each other, and it was not a fun day. And then, I mean, he had to go through these procedures, which lumbar puncture is not a huge deal. I've had a couple of them done for various things. Like he doesn't. They're not bad. The bone marrow biopsy, I hadn't been there when he had the first one done. Boy, that seems kind of rough. So anyway, we got word today that he is in complete remission, so that's great news. And now we move on to the tough chemo. So he did, when he was in the hospital for the 4 weeks, that was induction. And that was, the purpose of that is basically to get you into remission. Now, the next phase is consolidation. That's what it's called. It's called consolidation. It apparently is going to last about 10 months. We were originally told 3 to 4, and then we were told 6, and then we got an actual kind of semi-schedule of things, and it's actually 10 months, closer to 10 months. So that's, hopefully the whole thing is not going to be super rough, but we don't really know. Like, it more or less consists of weekly visits to the clinic, outpatient, for labs and chemo. But it's a little bit, they're all 3-week cycles, and here now at the beginning, the 3-week cycles, the first like 4 of them are all different. And then they're going to kind of be the same. So anyway, so the first part of sorry that it's shaking. The first part of consolidation is to start on the hard chemo, and that involves we were told 2 to 3 day hospital stay. It actually looks like it's going to be longer than that because of how hospital time works, and that nothing actually gets done quickly, which is annoying, but that's a whole other thing, which I could talk about for a long time. So today he is back in the hospital. He Eric went in this morning. His brother brought him in. He had labs done. He saw his oncologist and the fellow that works with him. Found out that he's in complete remission, and then took a few hours to actually be admitted. Got to his room, and basically the plan for this hospital stay is starting out lots of IV fluids, and then he this afternoon got 2 chemo drugs, and then hopefully now the kind of big chemo has started, and that's high dose methotrexate. He's had methotrexate before, but it's been in much smaller doses, and this is going to be a 24-hour infusion of it. So hopefully, we were hoping, the latest that I heard was they were hoping for 9:30 to start it. The timing, we thought he was going to be admitted like first thing in the morning, and then they were immediately going to start it, because basically you want to get it started so that he can start clearing it out of his system, basically, because it has to clear out of his system before he can come home, and we were told it'll take about 48 to 72 hours after it started for it to clear. So we're probably looking at maybe Saturday late in the day discharge, but more likely Sunday morning is what we're expecting. So, and that's like basically adding an extra day at least to this hospital stay. Okay, so yeah, so he hopefully is getting that now. It will run over 24 hours. He'll be given tons of IV fluids because it can be kind of rough on your kidneys. And then 36 hours after it started, 12 hours after it ends, they'll start checking the levels in his blood. And when it gets to a certain level, whatever the cutoff is, then he is cleared to be discharged. And then also on Friday, he will be getting a portacath, which is, if you're not familiar, it is a kind of long-term central line IV access. I have a portacath for my IV infusions and stuff that I have been on for years and years and years. Thankfully, I don't need to use my port all that much, but we in this family are very familiar with ports. So I'm really glad that he'll be getting it. I really wish that he could have gotten it first thing today. That would have made this stay a little bit easier, because he has already gone through a couple of IVs that have blown or just not been good or whatever, and you know, he needs really good IV access for the stay for the chemo. So anyway, so that's the beginning of this cycle, and then after that, there's actually no IV chemo for the rest of this 3-week cycle, but there's going to be weekly clinic visits for labs and to see the doctors. And he's going to be on a pill, which is not technically a chemo drug, I believe, but it's part of his protocol. So he's going to be on that for 2 weeks. And then a week off or so. And then we start the next 3-week cycle, which should all be outpatient, and then the 3-week cycle after that will involve a 5-ish day hospital stay. And this one and that hospital stay should be the only planned hospital stays for the duration of his treatment for the next 2 years. There could be other hospital stays for infections, low counts, whatever, but there should only be these 2 that are planned. So he might get away with only these 2 hospital stays. Hopefully, that would be really good. Let's see, and then so that's these first 3-week cycles, and then the 4th cycle is to protect his central nervous system. So he's going to be having to go in every day for 8 days for radiation on his head, low dose radiation, but radiation, and as well as a bunch of lumbar punctures with chemo injected in and various IV chemos. So I feel like these first 4 cycles, 4 3-week cycles, are going to be the roughest. It seems like it, and then after that, there's 10 3-week cycles that are all going to be the same. So I feel like that's going to get a little bit easier, a little bit more predictable. With this, we really don't know how exactly he's going to respond. He has had all the drugs that he's having this cycle before, except for the pill, but in the methotrexate in a much lower dose, and he's never had like all 3 at once. So yeah, so that's what's going on. How we're doing with all of this, ups and downs. Like, that's really the best way that I can describe it, that I can explain it. Some days are good, and some days are really bad, and that's just kind of how it goes. A lot of it seems to depend on whether or not Lex is having a good day. Today was not a particularly good day. There was a lot of him crying and whining and just being upset and being really fussy, and he's getting 2 teeth on top, and that is not easy on anyone. And last night was really bad, trying to get him to go to sleep. Anyway, it's just, he is having a hard time for various reasons. Partly because of all of this stuff, partly just because of what he's dealing with, you know, developmentally and all of that. So we're plugging along, but we're struggling. And I think it's going to take quite a while before we kind of get into any kind of routine and figure out any kind of new normalcy, because this is such a path change for our lives. Yeah. And hopefully sooner rather than later we will figure out that new normal, but it's hard and it just sucks. All of this sucks. Eric and I are both struggling in our own ways with our similar but very different stuff around this, and having a really hard time supporting each other in the way that we need it. And communicating, like, just trying to sit down and have a conversation with the other person is really difficult, especially because Eric is spending so much of his time sleeping. I told him today, like, I don't feel like I have an actual relationship with him because he is sleeping, like, all the time, it seems. And even when he's awake, he's not really there. He's zoned out and tired and just trying to get through things. So far, he has tolerated things very well, but he still is getting these drugs that are not easy to deal with. So anyway, I've rambled on far too long. I'm sorry that this is so long, and I really should try to do little mini updates more frequently, and maybe I will try to do that now. It's a little bit hard with Eric being home all the time. I don't tend to record videos when he's here, but I think I'm going to have to get over that, and maybe he'll join me in some of the videos. Oh, one other thing is that he now has shaved his head, which has been really hard for me to deal with and come to terms with. I have not yet touched his bald head, and I'm sure eventually I will, but I'm just having a hard time with it. So that's another aspect of all of this that is tough. But anyway, all right, I'm going to stop because I'm almost at 15 minutes. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers and whatever you want to send to us. We greatly appreciate all of that. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.